Dan, I've been wondering, where the hell has Marshall been?
I don't know, man, but they're here now. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello, welcome to the show. Please subscribe, click the button. It helps, and also please go to That Pedal Show store and buy merch. It's how we fund this show. Marshall then.
Marshall.
So, I hope Marshall won't be offended if I say the second most important name in guitar amplification ever.
Okay.
After Fender.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say after Two Rock. But fair enough. Yeah.
But equally, I would say equally important, actually. You can go for a history lesson if you want. Sorry, everyone at Marshall.
Yeah.
But the sound of rock, define the sound of rock, absolutely, utterly classic British amplifiers. And the amplifier that, as a kid, if you watched the TV and you saw someone like Hendrix or Jimmy Page or Eric Clapton or whoever it might be, stood there on TV playing the guitar, what was behind them?
Marshalls. So here's a chicken and egg question for you. Because those guys played Marshalls, did they make Marshalls cool? Or Marshall was cool, therefore those guys played them?
Oh, I think they were after more volume and more noise, and Marshall was able to come up with the goods.
Right.
And it was symbiotic, wasn't it? And it created the sound of rock.
Indeed. Just when I see a Marshall, when I see a half stack Marshall, I just think it is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, a full stack's even cooler.
Yeah.
So you'll have seen from the intro that we've got two amps we're going to look at today, and we're doing it because we haven't really had any contact with Marshall for a long, long time. Marshall's changed hands recently, as you might know, and there was a big sort of worry that because they'd gone to corporate ownership, that would be the end of it. But it seems that the reverse is the truth.
Yeah.
Reinvesting in the factory in Bletchley, Milton Keynes, where they're made. Anyway.
And yes, and just to reiterate that fact, I was just recently come back from NAMM, and the Marshall stand was one of the highlights of the show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
But both of the amps that we're looking at today, by the way, are made in Bletchley in the UK, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
The Studio series came out a couple years back now, and there's various Marshalls that are sort of that 20-watt format of things like JCMs, JCM 800s, JCM 900s, and this, the Silver Jubilee, small one. And we're also looking at a modded 100-watt Plexi, asking the question, who the hell can use a 100-watt Marshall these days? Is it usable in any sort of modern sense? So we'll start with this one, get a listen to it. I haven't heard any of the small Marshalls yet.
No, this is
Studio series.
First for me as well.
The 25th anniversary, Silver Jubilee they were called, came out in 87, I want to say,
right,
which was the 25th anniversary of Marshall. And it was an interesting sort of time in Marshall's development. We were long past the introduction of master volumes. That happened in 75. But we were sort of into that JCM 800 period.
People had discovered gain.
Yeah.
And higher gain, and Marshall kept pushing it, right?
Indeed. And at the time, I guess, players of the day from the late 70s onwards were using those old Marshalls modded. Silver Jubilee apparently was only made for a year.
No way.
In the silver finish. And fans of Silver Jubilee amps in their 100-watt form would include John Frusciante.
Yes.
Slash.
Yes.
And our friend Joe Bonamassa.
Yes.
Who still runs at least two of them in his rig.
Yeah.
So scale that down to 20 watts from two EL34s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's cathode biased or what, but
interesting.
Probably isn't. Anyway, 20 watts from two EL34s, and we're going to have a listen to it. We're going to have a listen to it on a 1x12 cab and a 212 cab. Now, we don't actually have the Jubilee cabs, sorry. We've got what you might call a typical 112 with a Celestian Creamback 75,
right,
and a 212 with two G12Hs in. Enough flipping talking. Let's have a listen to it. The questions we've got are, how much headroom does it have?
Mm-hmm.
How much gain can it produce? how good is the effects loop, and what does it sound like when you boost it in the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going through the 2x12 at the moment?
112, and
112.
then we'll have a listen to it in the 112, and then we'll see what difference a 212 closed back 212 makes. I know it looks like a 412. It's actually a small 212.
That looks wicked though, right?
A big 212.
That looks awesome.
It would look better if it was on the Jubilee cab, but anyway. There we are. At least it's a Marshall cab. Right. It's also got a low power and a high power mode. We'll start on the low power mode for a minute, but we'll get out of that quite quickly.
Okay.
All right. Everything at 2 o'clock.
That's very reasonable, as in...
5 watts.
Okay. It sounds like a Marshall.
5 watts.
Yeah, it sounds like a Marshall.
We've got a horrific buzz in here. Okay, what you heard there was a quick flick through. It's got 3 gain stages.
Right.
Crunch on channel 1 and then a lead. So you've got clean, crunch and lead.
Okay.
All of which can be foot switched, by the way.
Okay.
So let's go up to back out to the straight cleanest mode.
Okay.
And I'll flick it from 5 to 20 watts.
Okay. Sounds great.
That's everything at 2 o'clock. I'm going to turn the master up to 10.
Okay.
And just see how much clean headroom we've got.
Is this the clean channel?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Wow.
But obviously, Dan hasn't touched the controls on his guitar and he's hitting it hard, so it's always going to overdrive. So if we go to humbuckers, same setting, the master volume is currently max
Right.
and the preamp volume is sort of 2 to 3.
Okay.
So Marshall. Yeah, and that's it for clean headroom. So we'll switch over to the
Okay.
212 in a sec, just to see if that brings us any more.
Right.
I'll invoke the back up to 2 o'clock on everything,
Right.
and do the same thing. And I've pulled the first gain state. Just finally, the lead channel. We've got a lot going.
You know what's really interesting, right? There is something about the Marshall front of the note thing. And I think a lot of guys that make their version of a Marshall, they clean that up. They make it less harsh.
100%.
They make it soften. But when you hear that in a track, it's
Yeah.
like, that's a Marshall. That is the sound of a Marshall. And it is just glorious.
It does record. I mean, I hope that it is recording well, but it does record well as well. Sometimes if you stood right in front of it, particularly with a higher power one, which we'll hear in a bit, can sound really abrasive and kind of unpleasant, but actually that is the sound and that's what gets you heard.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time we stood in front of Phil X properly?
Yeah.
And it's that sound.
As that little club in Bristol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and also in Germany. Did you go?
Oh,
to that
yes, of
same
course. And we did the 100-watt thing. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
One of my favourite photos ever with me and Phil in that room. And he just tore the place apart because he knows how to play loud amps.
You know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is there enough clean headroom there if you want a clean sound with a spirited band? No. But do you want it that clean is the question. And if you're playing single coils, maybe that's enough.
Yeah.
I'll get the Strat in a sec when we go over to the 212.
But it goes to show that so maximum 25 watts, is that right?
20 watts.
20 watts. So at that level, there's just not enough clean headroom.
If you want loud clean.
If you want loud clean, that's right.
Yeah, but you're not buying this amp for loud clean, are you?
No,
you're
not.
buying it for amp overdrive.
Yeah.
So I'm just going, let's invoke the loop. We've got a source audio collider delay and reverb in the loop. When you're running a lot of gain in the preamp section of the amp, you don't really want your delay and reverb in the front. You can, it's a cool sound, but standard practice is to put it in the effects loop, which we've done. So we can have a little bit of listen to reverb and delay in the loop, get a sound we like, and then switch to the bigger cab and see what that does.
Okay.
Have a whack then, Dan.
Okay. Let's go back to a cleaner thing, a little bit edgy. Yeah, man.
Could we
That's
just
really cool.
leave all the shit off for a second and
Yeah,
just listen to the amp and the loop.
It sounds glorious. It feels great.
Keep that in mind. Just keep what you were playing in mind, okay?
Yep.
So we just flicked over to the first gain stage there right at the end. Straight away, there's quite a bit more headroom
In that cab.
in that cab.
Yeah.
It feels like. So it's really interesting. I've often said this. I've often thought that when I play a Fender amp and put a tube screamer in it,
Right.
what I'm actually after is that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
We'll just go over to the lead channel a sec. It might be a bit too much, but it's fine. We should have used the foot switch and you can hear how much damn hum there is.
Well, so first thing of going into that 2x12, the sound was, it had more nose on it.
Yeah.
It's more, didn't fill the room like the 1x12 did, but it automatically sounded louder.
Yeah, it would have done back there probably.
Yeah, right. But it just sounds like a Marshall, and that front end of the note is like there is absolutely no mistaking that for anything else.
It's a wonderfully, wonderfully satisfying sound to play, particularly with a Strat where you'd think it would be like wiry and nasty, but
it works.
You've just heard it so much that, you know, McCready's coming to mind there. Obviously, Jimmy's coming to mind because you've heard it, Richie Blackmore, a little bit maybe. And what's cool about that is, we'll move on to the big amp in a sec. What's cool about that is, you know, that's the 20 watt version.
Yeah.
And the feel of it is kind of there. And that's loud enough for most things, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe not out and out pure clean headroom. And the downside of running all that gain in the front end is it is noisy. You do get noise.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it becomes like an antenna. However, it's lovely that it has a 5 watt mode. I can... Is that... I guess it depends on what the cabs and stuff you're using, but you could certainly use that at home.
Oh, yeah.
You know, which is part of the big fight is to get the Marshall thing, having a tone like that you can actually use in your bedroom without annoying everyone. You're a long way there with that, you know.
Easy peasy. Yeah.
So that's very cool. But I'd love to hear that with a band.
Yeah, whether it
holds up,
sit there or not. Anything else you want to hear before we swap over?
No. I mean, I think that's amazing. I really like the effects loop in that as well. The effects loop sounds really good, which is hard to do. So yeah, man, hats off.
I think they're pretty popular. They're about 800 quid as well.
You're joking?
859 or something like that. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I thought they'd be double that. Okay. Wow. Awesome.
Let's have 5 times the power, shall we?
Back in the room.
Okay.
Check it out.
Only 1/412.
Yeah. It's the coolest. I just want that already. I don't really care what it sounds like. I just want that already. I mean, it is so cool.
It is cool. It is cool. In all seriousness, we did an experience day on Friday, and I set this up in here in the live room, and with some earnest said to the people, you know, has anyone ever heard a 100 watt Marshall on a 412 before? And a few people hadn't.
Right.
In the same vicinity, you know, in the same room. I said, well, this might be the first and last time you ever hear it.
Right.
This is an endangered species.
Right.
Currently, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe not on concert stages with Slash. Maybe not on huge gigs. But when this was all fields, back in the Stone Age, when Dan and I were teenagers, you could walk into any pub gig and see this.
Absolutely. No question.
Most pub gigs.
Yeah.
But it is a thing of the past, or it's becoming a thing of the past if we're not careful about maintaining a loud volume of playing. If you care about that, the question is, can you do it?
Yeah.
And I think the mods on this amp reflect a little bit.
So talk to me about the mods, because this is so interesting. It's like it's gone off to a custom shop.
Yeah.
And then come back with all the switches on it, but it's actually done by Marshall.
Done by Marshall. It's new out this year. It is called the
modified
1959
M01.
Yeah, sorry. We'll make the talking very brief. 1959 is not the year 1959 with Marshall. It's the model designation. 1959 SLP 100 Super Lead Plexi SLP.
Plexi.
Which it's interesting if you look at the history of Marshall amps, you know, they're always developing from 65 onwards.
Right.
Well, actually 62 onwards, but anyway, once the 100 watt has started appearing, they start developing quickly, and they're always developing.
Okay.
And there's this little golden period there, 67 to 69, 70, where the genesis kind of took place.
Okay.
Anyway, blah, blah, blah. This thing has become the stuff of legend in its classic form via Jimi Hendrix, via Jimmy Page, via all the big rockers that were playing in that period.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, mods to Marshalls like this are no new news because people have been doing it since the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But Marshall themselves have decided to do it in this one rather than something like the JCM 800 or 900 or DSLs, which have more gain built in.
Mm-hmm.
This one's got some usability tweaks. Dan, I'll just talk you through them.
Okay.
So if you get your hand-wired 1959 SLP and plug it in for the first time, this is what you'll get. And it's a bit arresting. So I'm going to have half an eye on the preamps.
Okay.
I'm not going to blow your ears off, don't worry. But it's well, you'll see what it is. All right.
Yep.
So we'll turn it on. At the moment, the bright cap is as it would be in a standard 59 SLP.
Brutal.
Well, you'll see.
Okay.
And we're in input 1, which is the high treble channel.
Okay. Oh,
Keep going.
oh, that's not fun. That hurts.
You'll recognise that if you've ever plugged into a real plexi, and it's not until you wind it up around sort of
Yeah, where that sort of disappears, right?
yeah, where the bright cap comes out, and the master volume, remember, is currently on max.
Max. Okay.
So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to give you that sound again and just take the bright cap out.
Thank you. Sold.
Still pretty brutal, but the bright cap's gone.
That's a completely different experience. Yeah, I'll have one. Thank you.
You get it.
I'll have
I'm just going to
two.
turn the mid-room mic down a bit because it is overdriving. Just do that again, Dan.
That sounds fantastic.
And this is the plexi sound that we're all going after, that beautiful clean sound.
Yep.
Right? So keep going. I'll turn it up just a little bit and then we'll invoke the master volume.
Okay. I'm into jazz hands territory now.
Straight off the bat, listen to the tonal effect turning the master volume down has.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of treble and presence coming through just in the master itself. So
Yep.
what we can now do is turn the master volume down and crank it. Right?
That's the sound! Wow.
In addition, they've put a clipping section in it with a bit more overdrive.
Okay. that bottom end thump. So where we got it there, it's a little bit clean.
Yeah, I just turned it back down again, but
Yeah. But the bottom end thump, when I dig in on the lower string, so this here.
yeah, I mean, you only get that from a 412.
That
doesn't
is
exist elsewhere.
Just wonderful. Honestly, that is some of my favourite Marshall tones we've had in this room.
Because we've been able to get it to a point where it's overdriving a bit. The bright cap is out.
Yep.
Because really, to get rid of that bright cap, the amp's got to be so loud. And don't get us wrong, if the ultimate plexi tone is with the bright cap in.
And the thing cranked.
And the thing cranked. But it's not workable in most environments. And we were up to 107, 108 there. Because I got the master. There's a sweet spot on the master that's about there.
Right.
Where the power amp just sort of goes, hello.
Yeah.
But of course, what this now gives us is the headroom to be able to crank it a bit and use the volume control as a cleanup machine, which we'll do in a minute. Right. The one surprising omission, and I think Marshall would agree, is there's no effects loop in this.
Right.
So you've gone to the trouble of modifying it in the first place, but no effects loop. Now, they might argue they do an 800 modified as well, which is bonkers. I've heard that.
Right.
Really bonkers hard rock amp. And that does have a loop. But it could be something to do with where the master volume is in the circuit.
Yeah, maybe. Look, the reality for me is if an effects loop in any way changes what's going on there, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Because that is a little slice of magic right there.
It's pretty good.
It's phenomenal. Seriously, it's like this... The issue with having to dime a Marshall so loud to get that sound is that you no longer can... You're not hearing it anymore.
Yeah.
You're just being pummeled by it.
Yeah, it's a brutal thing that is largely unusable.
Yeah.
For most people, not everybody, but for most people. And Dan and I like it loud, but I can't crank a plexi for any length of time.
Well, there's unless you're doing stadiums.
Yeah, which we're not.
Which we're not.
Nobody
but,
is.
But I can absolutely... The clean tone on that, I can absolutely use that.
To be fair, most of the people we know doing stadiums aren't cranking
they're not.
Marshalls anymore.
No.
So
you've got to be in Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Right, to be able to do that. But man, I absolutely love that.
Yeah, it really does. I love it too.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that we love classic Marshalls. Now, you might say, hang on a minute, nothing new here. Friedman's been doing it for God knows how long. All the people that do modded Marshall type amps have been doing it for God knows how long. For me, they, as brilliant as they are and as amazing they are and as easy to play as they are, they all seem to smooth it off.
Yeah.
In a more modern
That's right.
sense. So if you really want the vintagey thing, the Marshall, for me anyway, still sounds like a Marshall. All right, let's move on. No effects loop.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just patch the delay and reverb in the front.
Okay.
And we'll get a sort of understanding of why you wouldn't necessarily want to patch the delay and reverb into the front of an overdriving amp.
Okay.
So we're coming out of this pedal board down here, which we haven't used yet. We're going into the collider, which you can just hopefully see poking its head above the Marshall there, and into the front of the Marshall. Okay, so at clean volumes, this is going to sound quite
glorious.
Nice. Hopefully. And equally, if you were to do something crazy like stand on a fuzz at this point, it'll still be fine.
sold.
That's the sound, right? So all of you out there going, you can't put the delay and reverb into the front of your amp. Yes, you bloody can, as long as it's not overdriving too much. However, when we start to overdrive the amp, watch what happens now. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a great sound. You could turn the mix down a bit, but whatever happens, your delay and reverb is getting overdriven.
Yeah.
And it is a cool sound. Lots of genres do use that sound, but it's not typically what we go for. So what I was going to try and do is see if we can patch the collider into the second input.
Okay.
So on a 4-input Marshall, both channels are active all the time. And you'll have seen us before where to get over that bright cap issue of the amp sounding horrifically bright is you would bridge the two channels and just bring up the normal channel, which is much darker sounding. In fact, before we go any further, just listen to the normal channel.
Okay.
So with bright cap in, here's what the regular channel sounds like. Sorry, just give us a little bit more of that. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
It's just, until you crank the amp, it's horrible. Here's what the normal channel sounds like. I mean, it's such a vast difference.
Was that initially used for bass or something? I can't... Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to go, I'll put a diagram up. We're going to go into the front of the amp. We're going to bridge the channels by coming out and then back into the other channel through the delay and reverb. Because it might end up being in the wrong channel because of the way the inputs are configured. Because you actually haven't got 4 inputs anymore.
No, you've only got
got 3. Because the fourth one is taken by the master volume mod. So
Yeah,
I think we might be the wrong way round.
But what I really love about that is that's the way that the modders have done it forever.
Right.
They've used one of the input jacks to stick the volume control. And it's so cool that they've gone, okay, let's just see what everyone's done and the classic mods, and we'll do it. Really wicked.
So let's see what we've got. I've patched it in. There'll be a diagram on screen to explain what I've done. Not hearing anything.
pretty good.
Was it better than before? A little bit.
Yeah, definitely better than before.
Yeah, it took us a minute to get there, so sorry for the circuitous route, but it shows that you can do it that way. It would be better if there were actually 4, so you could get it in the right channel. But
yeah.
Anyway, that was all right. That was okay. Let's go back to having it in front then. So yeah, it's just now back in front, and I think now if you want to run your plexi really cranked and overdriving, because that's the sound of the Marshall, great. I think we both like it at the point where it's on the edge.
Just on the edge.
Enough to have your delay and reverb in the front.
Yes.
And then juice with a couple of things.
That
humbuckers
sound we had before with the fuzz going into the amp just working.
Yeah.
That's it.
So some
That's
humbuckers.
everything.
But you can't... Can you use an attenuator? Can you use IRs? Can you get the sound of that in your ears via other means?
No.
Maybe?
No. Okay. I've had a revelation. I know we're going long and we're trying not to go long, but I've had a revelation. Ever since we did the rotating speaker episode and we worked out that it was the effect of having the thing in the room and the space. It's the effect of having the cabinet vibrating in the room. You can't reproduce that. You just can't.
Especially in a good sounding room as well.
Yeah.
I know there's been videos saying room doesn't make any difference. Just put up a room mic, it makes literally all the difference.
Yes. Yeah, but that whole thing of the cabinet being in the room and it goes beyond than just saying, okay,
and then, you're stood
in
in the control room anyway. When it's recorded, it doesn't make any difference. No one can hear the room. All of that notwithstanding, it's bloody nice to be able to hear it.
Yeah, completely.
Okay. The master round past that sweet spot makes such a difference.
Right.
Listen.
Okay, My favourite Marshall I've ever heard. That is my favourite. That is the best sounding Marshall I've ever heard. I absolutely love that. As far as a pedal platform amp is concerned, I think that's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary because you don't have to go there. I don't know what we hit there, 110, 111. You don't have to go there.
No.
I mean, there is a magic point on that master where the whole thing just comes alive. Let's say going from 10, you know, where most blokes are.
Yeah. 10, across the board.
To like 9 or maybe 8.5, and then knocking that bright cap out.
Yeah.
Goes from aggressive, unusable, and I use the term unusable in any sort of modern sense of the word where... I mean,
it's just hurty.
Yeah, hurty, and you really... Yeah, I mean... Yeah, it's not something that many people can do these days. You go from that to, oh yeah, really, really exceptional pedal platform.
Incredible.
Absolutely exceptional pedal platform.
Even at the end, where you had it dimed and was really loud, there was still clarity. You could hear the edges of the fuzz. Not like the delay and reverb was just open.
Yeah, it didn't seem to be getting too smashy.
It was
straight into the front.
Just glorious.
Yeah, man.
That's the thing, the 100 watts for me, it just means that if per chance you need to go there, you can, and it doesn't cave in.
Yeah, let's just say it's not about 111 dB. It's not about that. It's about how loud and clean do you want your sound.
Yeah.
And if you need it, and you need a clean sound, loud, like 100 dB, the little one's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. Try not to get too caught up in the numbers.
Yep.
If you need a loud, clean sound to get above your drummer, the little ones aren't going to do it.
No. But at no point did that not sound like a Marshall.
Oh, man. It just reminds me about all those Jimmy Clean sounds and all of that.
I am blown away by that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. Marshall,
amazing.
Where have you been? Well, you've been everywhere, as always, but you haven't been here. Now you're here. We're glad.
Round of applause. Yeah, thank you, Marshall. that's killer.
Yeah.
Really killer.
We may get the 800 on, but if we do, we're going to need to get someone in to play it because it is unbridled.
Right. Let's get a beer in.
It's, it's hard rock in a really beautiful way.
I like it.
All right. Enough.
Brilliant. Wow, that was so much fun. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Massive thank you to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed some merch. We've got some lovely overshirts and some t-shirts, some strings and pedals and loads of stuff there, so go and check that out. Massive thank you to our preferred retailers. Details in the description below, and of course to our patrons on Patreon.
Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. Yes, I think we've said everything. I'm just trying to get over that.
I'm going to go need a cup of tea and lie down.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
Incredible.
Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.